Main engine start. 1, 0, and liftoff of the Delta II rocket with Dawn, using ion propulsion to reach the catalysts of our solar system.
On the morning of April 23, 1966, the South Mississippi silence was broken by an earth-rattling roar that swept southern Mississippi and Louisiana into the space age. That roar was the sound of the first rocket engine static test firing on the A-2 test stand at what is now NASA's John C. Stennis Space Center. The test was a cluster of 5 J-2 engines for the second stage of the Saturn V rocket that would power the Apollo missions to the moon. When President John F. Kennedy made his historic 1961 announcement that the United States would put humans on the moon by the end of the decade, the plan called for a place to test the huge rocket engines that would power a rocket farther than anyone had gone before. Mississippi's influential Senator John C. Stennis, for whom Stennis Space Center is named, supported the selection of his home state as the place to build the rocket engine test facility. The site's water access was essential for transporting large rocket stages, components, and propellants. With its 125,000-acre acoustical buffer zone, Stennis continues to play an integral role in America's space program. At the time the facility was built, it was the largest construction project in Mississippi and the second largest in the United States. Construction began in May 1963, and the center was fully operational for rocket engine testing less than 3 years later. On July 20, 1969, just 3 years after that first test, astronauts Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin walked on the lunar surface, safely transported more than 238,000 miles by a space vehicle whose boosters were tested and proven flight-worthy in Hancock County, Mississippi. Stennis Space Center's mission of testing the first and second stages of the Saturn V moon rocket for the Apollo program continued until the early 1970s, when its test stands were modified to begin testing all the Space Shuttle's main engines. Since then, all Space Shuttle main engines have been tested and proven flight-worthy at Stennis Space Center. With its state-of-the-art facilities, Stennis Space Center continues to test components for future generation launch vehicles, helping America fulfill its vision for space exploration, to return humans to the moon before the end of the next decade, paving the way for eventual journeys to Mars and beyond.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
That's great. Is the lighting halfway decent?
Yes, indeed. They've got the flag up now, and you can see the stars and stripes on the lunar surface.
Flag up now, and you can